all the while teaching herself to write, and she's also drawn to deeply human stories told in unexpected ways, and is currently directing an animated short from her personal tale of what it's like to be a working class and of mixed race. That's very interesting. Guys, it's going to be quite interesting because, you know, script writing is pretty much the soul of storytelling and, of course, filmmaking. So we're going to start with the ABCs, and maybe after that we'll go on and talk about the differences between commercial script writing and, of course, documentary script writing. Are we good with that?
Definitely fine.
Awesome. Right, we'll start from here. Now, first things first, we'd like to get to know, obviously, you, sir, since you're our first subject that I'll be interviewing. Why did you get into this industry? How did you get into this industry, Thomas? Tell us a bit about your story.
Is it fine if I speak without the microphone?
No, I'm also fine.
I think it sounds a little bit better.
Yeah, he's got such a sexy voice, you know, like... Okay, anyway, moving along.
We got it.
Yeah, we got it.
I'm here because I'm looking good. Okay, we got it.
We got it, right.
You don't need to be deep.
It's a whole sitcom here, right?
No, definitely. I used to be an entrepreneur for many years, and then it came by chance, like often things came, that I joined a production and I absolutely fell in love. And I believe in the power of that industry. I believe in the magic of this industry. Definitely, this building of art, this building a kind of future, this power of changing, of showing the beauty of this life that we had in this industry is very unique. And that's why I fell in love with this. That's why basically the reason I joined this industry. And I'm still in love with this industry.
Right, excellent. Renee, now you mentioned in your profile your mixed race. Was that something that got you into filmmaking and obviously script writing? What's your background? How did you get into it?
Well, I've always loved movies. I think it starts with that. You love film, and you want so badly to be a part of that world. And how I started was I tried to break into the industry locally. I'm from Malaysia, and I couldn't get anywhere. I tried really hard, and I don't know what it was. I didn't have connections. Maybe I wasn't good enough. So finally, I decided, contrary to like the mixed race thing, was like, why don't I try to break into the industry where they don't care about that? They don't know who you are. They don't know your name, the color of your skin, nothing. Just the work. And so that's what I did by submitting my script to the Academy Nickel Fellowship. And I won the fellowship. Yeah.
All right, congratulations.
And that opened up the world of filmmaking to me.
Okay, obviously the title of our forum is about script writing. Let's go to the ABCs, so to speak, of script writing. For you, we'll go straight to basics first. What are the essence of script writing for you? What's the first thing that you think of when you're about to write a script? What for you?
Characters. I strongly believe in the sentence, I think Elias Avery wrote it down, start with characters and characters. Because basically the script is based on three main topics. First are characters, second story, third plot. If you have a good mix of that, you can build something beautiful. That's my belief. The first thing is definitely character, because at the end of the day, all of us, we want to see on screen somebody we can link to, we can hook on, we can get something out of it, we can see something that is interesting for our life, and that's shown mainly in the character.
Okay, very interesting thought process there. You yourself, where do you start? Blank page, when you start?
I have to connect with the story that I want to tell. It comes from a deeply personal place. And I think that's important because then it kind of dictates how your voice is going to tell that story. And if you come from a deeply personal place, you're going to be able to communicate with your audience. It's going to come from a real place. You know, you've heard that I've fallen off mountains, I've been attacked by monkeys. I wouldn't write that script because I don't think anybody would want to watch that. I wouldn't want to watch that. But the feeling that I got from those events, now that's something I can tap into. When I fell off that mountain, I had to experience the humiliation of having to have complete strangers pick thorns out of my butt because that's where I landed, in a thorn bush. And that kind of like humiliation lends itself to writing a character or scenes or a story that taps into that. Now that's where I come from. I need to connect on a deeply personal level. Not personal experience, but on a personal level.
So emotion-based type of stories that you think of from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. We've got some lecturers from Unimas, a local university of Malaysia as well. Say hi everyone, put your hands up. You guys are here? So quiet. Some of them from theatre, a couple of them from theatre as well. Obviously we have what we call formats when we do script writing, you know, Act 1, Act 2, and 3. Do we encourage students especially, when they're starting to do script writing, to go look at foundations first? Have the basis of being able to write scripts that way first? Or do we do documentary style, just think of your characters, your thing before you even go to the page?
Are you talking about process?
Yes.
Okay. I think every writer has to develop their own process. Some works for some works for others. Personally, I like to do what is called as beat sheeting, which is basically putting down all my ideas, arranging them. I actually like to go old school, and I use index cards. And I put, yeah, it's cool, because then you can move it around and like create the story however you like. It's a jigsaw puzzle waiting to happen. It's wonderful.
So you're big boards. You're doing the big board in that sense.
Yeah, I'll stick it to anything. I'm like, oh, I won't go there. Basically, it's ideating and visualizing and seeing it that way. It doesn't work for everybody. I know a lot of people don't do index cards, but that's how I choose to do it. And then from there, and this is a particular thing to me, I like to do a draft 0, which is basically I take everything, I put it all down. I always have this saying, I write 1,000 pages so I can write 100. And what that means is basically refining the process over and over again. This one of the things that I noticed that people seldom do, and that's one of the failings. Because you do need to refine. Nobody's that much of a genius. Like, people like to say Hemingway said this. I don't know if it was him, but he said the first draft of anything is crap. And it's pretty much true.
Yeah, first ideas. How about you, Brad? I mean, Thomas. Sorry, I'm a comedian, so keep moving.
I think each and everybody needs to find his own voice, his own method, his own approach. For some, it works in one way, for others, it works in another way. I think the most delicate thing is because in any kind of thing you do in this industry, you open a window to yourself, and that's always a kind of struggle. And so you have to find a way to do it in a way you feel comfortable with. And like she said, she does the cards and like this, so it's able to mirroring to go ahead of the process. But that's another thing. For everybody works in a different way. Some people are more keen to keep things in mind, maybe because of fear of much, seeing too much outside, keeping more things inside. Others are made in a different way, but it's a balance between courage and and going ahead and finding the right way to do it. Definitely cards are extremely useful because you have this confrontation and you always need that confrontation. If you keep too many things inside, it's a struggle because all of us tend in a way to forget some things or to go over, and if you see it outside, you see, okay, there's an angle, there's something that doesn't work, doesn't flow.
Exactly. If you're able to visualize it, then you can see where the problems are, where the pacing is off. There's a lot to be said for visualization. Do you work with index cards as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, what's
With index cards, I work with, I have my wall, and I paint on it, I write on it.
I've written on the window before.
Okay.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, the other thing is, when you do, as you said, you quoted Ernest Hemingway, and you were saying the first one. Does your original idea, before you even, when you're doing stuff, how often does it change or veer from the original thought, or at least the process? And that's something, a lot of the younger, they're very adamant on getting their idea out there, but we all know that once you have this original idea, everything veers off. You wanna expand on that?
Yeah, in my case, I know, and I was having this discussion with some producers here yesterday. The first act is always fine, and then it starts to meander, right? In my case, I have what I call percolation time. So I get an idea, I put it in my head, and then I let it percolate, and it drips, and it drips, and it drips. And when I come to a point where I know where it's going to end, I know my themes, I know the structure that I want to put this in, that's when I start writing. So I don't fall into the trap of having it veer. But once you start writing, then you see the possibilities. And there's so many possibilities you can go for. So yes, you have the structure, but allow yourself to play with it.
Now, Thomas, you mentioned you always start with, obviously, characters and stuff. Do your characters maintain from your original ideas or thoughts, or do you have changes and then you find a story after that? What's your thought process after all that? Do you still maintain the same concept as you're in the middle of the script writing or not?
The answer is yes, and the answer is no. No, my process is to try to distill, to synthesize as good as I can what I want to tell. And I start writing basically only when I'm able. I learned this. I started with my first scripts in a different way. But now I start writing only at that moment when I'm able to express exactly what I want to say in one sentence. That's the moment that I say, okay, at the end of the day, the goal is this. That's definitely it. I like to compare it with a climb of a peak. I know where I am. Okay, that's the peak. Huge mountain, a lot of peaks. That's the peak I want to reach. Then once I start going up, once I start climbing, there's a lot of issues, a lot of changes that need to be done in a moment, because from view from down seems to be in one way, but once you're there, you see that there's no passage, there's no way to climb that part, so you have to go to the other. But focus should always be that peak, otherwise it won't work. Come out proud of something scrappy.
Interesting. Do you have any, before I go to the next question, in your script writing, do you have a style that you have a favorite style, how when you are writing your scripts? You know, is there in terms of, so I'm a sitcom writer, so we have certain styles that we do. It can be, you know, it can be deeply rooted in different types of comedy. It could be, what's the word? Oh my God, my English has just gone down the drain. Slapstick, it could be something different. So what kind of style?
Are you talking about genre?
Well, genres are, whether sitcom, whether
So he's talking about what?
either a voice or...
I think what she meant was if you already reach or if you have...
Do you have a certain genre? Okay, do you have a certain genre that you write, and within that genre, how do you write it?
Because I don't stick to a genre.
Pardon?
I don't stick to a genre.
Oh, you don't stick to a genre. That's your answer. There we go. So you have any
Yeah,
you write
okay.
it.
For me, and I don't know if anybody else here has tried, you get a story idea, and then you think like, oh, maybe this is a comedy, and then you start thinking, oh, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a science fiction, adventure, whatever. And one thing, can I talk about the industry? Like, okay, one of the things that bothered me about that, of not having a genre, was because I knew in Hollywood, managers don't like to represent people who don't have a genre, because then you're hard to market. Because if you have a genre, then I can go like, here's the romantic comedy chick. Oh, sorry. here's the Brad Pitt action guy. So you can market it that way. But I was really lucky because my managers went like, you know, write whatever genre you want. And I think that's opening up. And also, more importantly, is the ability to write for both film and television. So that's an important thing that has come to the fore.
I don't really believe deeply in such a thing like genre. I think that a good film definitely needs to be a perfect mixture between many different genres. Then genre is just a term that is useful sometimes, but sometimes it could be also a limit. And like you said, people thinking like that, this is this lady, this is that lady, that it's definitely more a limit than a chance. And genre, I mean, it should be a chance. It should be useful because the more dramatic themes you're touching, the more comedy things you need in just to keep it in balance. At the end of the day, you need a balance between many genres, otherwise the film wouldn't work.
Yeah, I think speaking to that, the most obvious example probably to me is Parasite. That mashup of genres shouldn't work, but it does. And what Thomas said was very true. It's that sweet spot, the balance between the different genres. So, you know, because it's a dichotomy. The human being is like, sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry. And you need both of these aspects, very simply, to make a full character. And character-driven stories, I agree with Thomas, is one of the most important and most relevant stories. I mean, this high concept as well. I'll give you an example. Fast and Furious, high concept. Everybody thinks car chases. And then when you ask the producers, Justin Lin will tell you, what do you mean? It's about brotherhood. It's about family. So, you see, it has to still have that connection. And the mixing of genres, if we want to use that term, has become quite commonplace now.
Right. Back to the essence of script writing. You've done your script, you've gone up to that mountain, done your few drafts. Then what's the first thing you do? Who's the next person that gets to read it or see it? Or do you have trusted person that that you can bounce off ideas, or a group of people that you can bounce off ideas with?
I definitely always start talking to people I trust, and especially in Europe, I start thinking, because I'm a producer as well, I start thinking about possibilities, chances, financial aspects, technical aspects, and so on and so on. And then, fortunately, I've been lucky to meet some people. Like this time, for example, I met Renee, and maybe the next script that I write, I will give her a call and ask her, what do you think about that idea? I have many people like this, and so, as I said before, it's a window to myself. So I need to approach the outcome or the income of light on this in an easy way. So I start sending it to people I trust, just asking, okay, what do you think about? Could it work? How could it work? And in that meantime, I'm thinking about the production aspects, about the technical aspects, how to bring it, and so on and so on. I do it this way also because in Europe, I think in America as well, but maybe less. I don't know here, but in Europe we have one big issue. We have financial structure that go through ministerial funds, regional funds, and so on and so on. And we have very relevant festivals. So basically nowadays, a lot of films aren't written for the audience, are more written for the funders or for the festivals. And I do strongly believe that a film needs to be written for the audience. And so I need to pass through that colleagues, friends of mine, just to have, on the other hand, their opinion. Okay, I wrote it for the audience. It's possible to fund it. What do you think about that? Did I get the kind of balance, or did I overrule it, or did I miss the target somehow, somewhere?
A very interesting subject, which we'll probably expand on. And for yourself, so what happens after that process? Who do you see? Who do you speak to? And what kind of process do you go beyond that?
Okay, in my case, because I'm mostly a screenwriter, after I finish the draft, I send it to my managers, my agents, and they generally give feedback about the saleability of it, or if it passes the test, it starts going out to producers, to studios, sometimes to actors, and we get the ball rolling that way. So it's a very different process because I don't produce those kind of scripts. Those kind of scripts purely for sale. So I get my feedback from the people who are directly in the business. So they would, give that kind of commercial or, mostly commercial advice.
What kind of, you mentioned just now it has to go through before it passes. What kind of pass? What are the categories or criteria before it gets to pass to the next stage?
Basically, I think it's my managers and agents' gut feel. If they think that it's something that would attract a particular star, but basically first they go to producers. And the interesting thing is in the US, managers are allowed to produce films, agents are not. Yeah, that's something that was fought for back in 2019. So sometimes I've had the incident where the managers actually step in as producers, especially if you're doing more indie stuff. So because it's a smaller budget, but it's got a chance of critical success or something. So there's many pathways to getting produced.
Yeah, you touched on the subject just now between investors and scriptwriters. Obviously, we've had also in the past where you have investors or funders who I wouldn't say overstep their line, but they want to, as you said, to have a big say in how the script is written. How do you you challenge that, or how do you find a line where you say enough is enough, or because at the end of the day you're investors. How do you handle that as script writers? Because we got some funders around here as producers, as producers. So just from your point of view, because script writers are a breed of their own.
I think it's definitely different how it works in America, how it works in Europe, how it works here. And I don't think that there's the royal way or the so-called royal way.
So running away from the subject.
No, it's not. It's definitely complicated because you approach producers. I think it's easier in America, and if you're only a screenwriter and you had this huge success, compliments again. You had this really, and this is one way how it works. In my personal experience, I approached many producers, talking to many producers. A lot of them I read it in their eyes, okay, is there something or somebody famous involved in, then I'm interested, otherwise I'm not interested. Because we're in a star system and also producers. There are many producers that are going for the art and they didn't really know the difference between a diamond and a piece of glass. So I became a producer also out of that reason. I founded my own company because I was bored to work with others who I felt didn't understand the topic and didn't understand what to say, how to manage it, how to go for it. It was more like this, or because they had some luck or some money, or they decided, or other reasons that I have, that I personally haven't judged, and it goes his own path. But at the end of the day, I decided to set up my own production company for that reason, basically because it's definitely hard to go the way up. And so far in Europe, we have this financing system in Europe. That's why I founded my company, and so I were able to produce for scripts for other directors and so on. But there's a lot of money.
Okay. Your time is 600 plus scripts.
So you're talking about like studio notes.
Whether it's studios or what?
Well, that's what we call. That's what we call when producers and investors get involved.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I think the whole ecosystem is important. I think you need producers, you need feedback because there's this commerce involved. But I think also you have to stay strong to your vision. What you have to do is to be able to take the notes on board and then be able to not compromise per se, but kind of work your way towards delivering what perhaps is acceptable to the studios, but still maintaining your vision. It's hard. It's a hard balance. Sometimes maybe you don't do it and just say, yeah, I did it, which is like an easy way out, but the good thing about filmmaking is collaborative. So if the idea is good, it shouldn't matter where it comes from. If the idea is bad, well, maybe try to explain it, and if they still insist on it, find a way around it. That's what the creativity in screenwriting is, anyway.
Do you have a favorite script that you've started from beginning and seen it all the way, and it's been either aired or put out in cinemas? Have you had a few of those experiences where you started something, because now you have your own production house, your production company, and you've done everything, you're doing everything yourself. What kind of babies have you born or given birth to that's gone all the way to the end?
If I have a script that I wrote,
that you wrote.
Sure. A script that's still in development, 7th draft with. especially so the Italians and the Germans weren't so straight, but the director of the Austrian Film Institute became a dear friend of mine, so he's very straight and very direct to me. And his answer was science fiction is something for Americans. In Europe, you get it science fiction is something that Americans do. I was like, okay, yeah, that's the way it's meant to think. That's the way it's meant, definitely. And it's a kind of political role they have in the film fund, and so they have to follow some path, and they can't break out, which is a struggle for us, definitely for us when we are creative. I think neither you and me, we don't hit of how we tell a story, because the story is important, the character is important, the message is important to us. And so we are confronted with somebody who says, okay, why this? Because this topic, science fiction, is nothing that could be funded in Europe, because it's something for Americans, that Americans do better and that Americans should do. Okay. I mean, also Western were like this in the 30s, 40s, 50s. Then a guy called Sergio Leone turned out and made the best Westerns ever. I mean, spaghetti Westerns made history.
There we go. I mean, but is this true? I mean, I would say it's true. That
Americans love science fiction.
Yes. I mean,
No, not they love. They can make it in Europe, and there's a league of the farmers that we are not able to
Okay.
why
The
is
first
that? I mean,
movie-
why do you think that is?
Okay, my knee-jerk reaction is because of IP. It's all IP. I'm not American, I'm Malaysian. The American studio system, it loves IP because what it says is it's going to deliver all these eyeballs. It's a business decision. And a lot of IP that's popular is science fiction. And therefore, the Americans tend to buy the IP and then do it. I mean, I don't know about doing it better because one of the first science fiction movies was like French, right? Man in the Moon?
Man who was French there,
Yeah.
where it's land.
Yes, up in Metropolis, German, amazing science fiction movies. Exactly. So it's really weird. I think this is a case of the business dictating what we can make, what we should write. And I think we'd be very interested to see if this is the case here as well. Maybe open up for questions after.
Yeah, we'll go there when we get there. Now, as script writers, when you see stuff on, especially commercial stuff, have you seen some of your writing get butchered by actors and all that? Have you stuff that's pretty much maintained what you've written when it's come out in production?
Well, I can't really talk about my stuff right now, but I can say that I think it depends very much on the directors. Because, and I can mention names because it's out there on the internet. Yui Bo did this movie back in the day called Blood Rain. And what he did was he got an A-list Hollywood writer. I can't remember her last name, but her first name was Guinevere. And she'd written the script, and she'd sent it in, and he shot the whole thing. And then she went for the premiere, and this is like an action vampire movie, you know, very thrilling. And when she watched it, she started laughing her ass off. It became this really weird comedic version, and then she found out what Yui Bo did halfway was like, scriptwriter's gone, make up your own lines. What do you feel like? Just do what you want. And that's essentially what happened. So the scriptwriter experience was, I go in to see my movie,